What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to episode 67 of the U.S.S. Enterprise D tutorial. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me and supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And today, we have about a 22-minute episode, and we're going to be building out a couple of things today. We're going to be working on some of the foundations for what's going to become our bridge. And we're also going to be working on the foundation of what's going to become the mall, and then also the inner workings of the corridors that would tie into those, as well as the turbo lift. This is something I talk about all the time, that it's very important to have your pathways established first. So this way, when you're working on your interior, you can navigate around that, for one, and it'll also help you to dictate the shape that your room's going to fall into. Um, so you can see we've got quite a bit of room here to work with. So this inner ring here of sea lanterns, we're pretty much going to be filling those in. We're going to be doing a single block of white concrete going all the way around, following our pattern here. Then we get to the last row, we're just going to go in one, and then we're just going to follow the lip of the sea lantern. We're going to do the same thing on this side. The first two rows, we're going to follow the lip. I'm going to jump over to this side to make sure, because I actually made a slight boo-boo, so we're going to fix that. There we go. Now we're cooking. Because again, we're working smarter and not harder in today's episode. We're throwing the pixel circle generator out the door because we're not really going to need it for the rest of this build, because we're just reusing our templates that we've used in previous episodes to help us out here with the interior on the ship. Because why not? It's here, we might as well use it. And if we can make it come out the way that we want it to, might as well take advantage of it. So the same thing on this side. Once we hit the end of the sea lanterns in the floor, then we're going to be going along the lip of the sea lanterns that are one up. And this is more or less going to end up being the outer wall of the mall, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I believe so. It's going to be the outer wall. When you think about it, it's going to be quite a bit of room to work with here. But our mall is going to be kind of two sections. We're going to have an oval portion of it going along this wall here, and then also sections in the dead center too. So it'll be two sections of the mall. And then also in the bottom sections here will also be the aquarium. And I think that's more than likely what the screenshot's going to be. At this point in where I'm recording this, I haven't actually done it yet, but before I upload the video, I'm going to hop on my build and take screenshots for this episode so you can see what this finished room is going to look like. And it's something I've been very excited about showing you guys. So now what we're going to be doing is nothing too crazy, but this pattern that we've established on the ground here, we're going to be bringing this all the way up to the ceiling. So we're just going to do our rows here, and we're just going to keep doing passes on this until we get all the way up to the top. Now, it's also going to be important that we don't cover up our X-access point corridors. So the straight corridors, in other words, front, back, left, and right. You don't want to cover those up because we're going to need to be able to get to the center of the ship, but I will show you how to build around them. So if you need to, you can totally fast forward just a little bit, because I don't recall if we do this. I think we're actually going to end up doing this all in one episode rather than skipping ahead. 9 times out of 10 on this build, when we end up doing massive things like this, I'll build a section of it and then just skip to when it's done. But if I'm not mistaken, in today's episode, I think we're going to do this all live. So I made a mistake there. Want to fix that up because it's pretty vital that we're just taking our time here as we're hitting each pass and we're just sticking to our current template. The main reason to do that is so this way all 4 sides of our outer wall for our mall match. But we're going to have more than enough room here to do whatever we need to do. So now we're skipping ahead, and I'm going off of these 2 corners here in the upper section, which is pretty much in the bridge. So wherever center here, we go 1 cut, 2 cut, the single block cuts here on each side. We've gone up 1, we've cut out 2 going upwards. But I believe we're going to end up making adjustments to this, because if you haven't noticed, these cuts that we're making, they go right into the shuttle bay. So basically what's going to end up happening, and if you want to build this out, feel free to do so, just so your build matches what I have. But what we're ultimately going to do is we're going to have to rebuild the exterior for the bridge and move it up a little bit. So this way, this area here is going to end up being the facade for the cargo turbo lift, which is something that is in the primary shuttle bay. Now you can see this is a problem here, because this was something I was thinking about. I was like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe I can have it going where the shuttle bay, you can walk right into the bridge, but it was never like that. That was the problem that I was facing with this, and because of that, that's ultimately why I decided to move the bridge upward rather than leaving it where it's at. And it actually worked out that way. It really worked out, because what I was able to do is build out the facade for the cargo turbo lift. But these rods that we're building down right now, we're actually going to end up keeping these, because the turbo lifts that we're going to have are virtually going to be in the same spot. I think we actually might slightly tweak them, but they're pretty much going to be right where they're at. I think I might reposition them ever so slightly when we come back to rebuild the bridge, but I would definitely build this out just so you have the same thing that I have on my ship if this is what you're looking to do. But as you can see, this is just one of the things that I will do. It is so imperative to have this stuff established out beforehand. So this way, when we go back and we start actually really working on the detail of this room, um, you can build around it. Now, I was actually incorrect. There was, I think there were 2 clips in today's episode. I completely forgot about it. So what I did was, to get back into it, the walls that we started, I built that going all the way up. And as for the cutouts for our corridors, as you can see here, and I paused it so you can see, I pretty much just went around the outline for them. The top, the sides, and the bottom flooring here. So this way we can continue to build them out. and they won't be imposed on any walls or anything. We won't possibly lose them. And we're gonna do that for the forward, or excuse me, I should say the rear, and then the forward, the left side, and the right side. And now what we're essentially going to be doing is connecting our corridors and also making a path here that would eventually go to our two turbo lifts. Although, if I'm not mistaken, I do believe that the right side turbo lift is going to go away, and we're just going to have the left side one because I decided that I didn't necessarily need two. I could have left it, but I just, decided, I'm like, well, you know what, we'll just do the one. Yeah, because we will come back and actually rebuild these because I'm not going to lie, as I was building this out, I was not a fan of having caddy cornered turbo lifts because one of the things that I talk about is staying consistent throughout your ship. You want your turbo lifts to stay the same. You want your corridors to stay the same. So this way, when you're going through different sections of the ship, it matches up and you have consistency. That's so vitally important. Like right here, I need to actually swap that out to cyan rather than that sky blue color in the dead center. But now we're going down to the bottom deck, and we're just going to repeat that same process. Even though we're going to end up getting rid of one of those turbo lifts, we're just going to build out the facade for what will become the walkway. This way we have a nice little template to go off of here. So in the future, well, that is, I'd actually stand corrected. That is cyan. I don't know why, but when I first added those extra rows, it totally looked like blue on the video. So we're in good shape. But no, this is imperative what we're doing right now because this will help us to navigate the rest of the interior as we're adding stuff in. Because now we've got our floors, we're starting to establish our floor plan, and we can use this to help dictate how the rest of the room's going to come together based off the floor plan. See, this is why I make these decisions because it helps you. It totally helps you. So you don't have to think as hard to try to figure all this stuff out. I kind of go off the idea that form meets function, the function of it. You first tackle your walkways. Once your walkways are established, then you can start worrying about bringing the rest of the room together. This is actually going to end up being pretty cool because these turbo lifts are pretty much going to turn into bridges that are going to walk over the aquarium, and that'll look pretty sweet. Now, this inner oval here, which is basically the captain's yacht in the very bottom, we're going to start doing the same thing. We're going to be building a wall going all the way around, kind of like how we did on that outer wall. This is going to be considered the inner wall of the mall slash Navigation Dolphins Aquarium. This is ultimately going to be one of those areas I took a huge liberty on because when I first started deciding on what I was going to do for the interior here, I knew 110% this is where the mall was going to be because I found the uh, blueprints for it, and I forgot completely to include it in today's episode, the website that I used. Um, but I'll try to post that up with one of the future episodes because we're not going to be done with this room. But basically, what I'm getting at is that I ended up moving the navigation dolphins area because originally um, it's in the forward section of the saucer, and I just kind of decided, I'm like, well, you know what would be really pretty would be to have that kind of wrapped in and connected to the mall, you know. And that was just kind of my thinking on it. I was like, well, you know what? That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take a small liberty with it. At least I'm staying true to the fact that it does have an aquarium, but I'm making the mall look a little bit nicer by having it integrated with it. Because one of my thought processes behind it is that you wouldn't technically need a mall in the Enterprise D because you have replicators. And then that got me thinking, well, why would they have a mall in the Enterprise D then? Okay, well, to me at that point, it would be because of the social interaction and to basically actually get out and interact with something that's real as opposed to just going to the holodeck. And then that's kind of when I started thinking, like, well, you know, what I could do at that point is kind of integrate the navigation dolphins aquarium into that to kind of bring that, you know, social experience together where when you're going to the mall, like it feels like there's more than one thing to do, just like it would be at a real mall, you know. um, so that was just kind of my thoughts behind that, you know. And just kind of like to share my thinking on this so this way it can help other people in their builds and what you're going to ultimately end up doing with your ship, because it can be really important to think about this stuff. I think about it all the time as I'm working on these ships because it ultimately ends up helping me to have a much better product in the end result of my build. All right, we're looking pretty good. We've got almost our complete x-axis intersection completed for our straightaway corridors. And right now we're just worrying about the flooring, making sure that we're using the same pattern consistently with the cyan in the center and the blue on each side of it. And we're just going in a straight line. It's kind of hard to mess that up. So far we're looking pretty good. All right. So now we just have to do the sides, the left side and the right side for the top row in the sky blue, well, blue concrete. I hate when that happens sometimes on Minecraft. I don't know if that happens to do when you're speed building like that, just dropping blocks down. Sometimes it just loses your placement and then you have to go back and do it again. And I feel like it happen when it starts happening and just starts, it'll keep happening over and over and over again. I don't know why it does that. I need to fix that. Now you can see I've added pillars. I started from the bottom intersection. I'm going to be going all the way up until we get to that first gray x-axis point intersection, basically. Okay. And I brought them going all the way down, but I think we're going to get rid of that because this lower area here is going to be the viewing area. Well, directly below this deck, this bottom deck that we have, that's going to be the aquarium viewing area. And then below that will be the captain's yacht. So we're going to bring them all the way down until we get to the quartz x-axis point, and then we're going to stop as far as the pillars go. All right. This might feel entirely like a jigsaw puzzle. Trust me, I feel you. That's how it feels for me working on this thing. However, these are pretty important foundations, all in all, what we have going on here, because this is going to help us in fleshing out the rest of the ship here. You can see I'm going off the last corner on the sides of our oval because we're basically doing a cutout where we're not going to be filling in for our walkways. And then for the straightaway portions, we're just making sure that there's a 3 block gap. Well, essentially that's what you're doing for each corner pretty much, either whether it's the front, back, left, or right. Um, because what we're going to be doing here in a moment is filling in the walls here to help generate that room as well. But we're only going to be bringing the blocks all the way up until we get to that top gray x-axis point, and then we're going to stop. Okay. So we have templates for our walkways, what not to fill in, but everything else on the walls here, we're going to be filling that in, and also underneath the walkways, we can fill that in too. But very important, obviously, not to fill in your actual walkways. You want to leave those blank in the dead center. Underneath that, that's fair game. And at this point, we're just literally going to be adding rows to this and building it all the way up. Going around this oval template that we have here. You can see I'm starting along this back wall here. This is something you can do too, but of course, as you're adding layers, once we get to a certain point, you want to make sure that you're not filling in your walkways. And we're going to be doing this going all the way around the oval. And now we're going to continue going up because I'm going to give you the height that we're bringing this up to, which is the roof. And we're going to be doing this going all the way around, while also making sure that we're not covering up our walkways. And once we do that, I'm telling you, it's going to be a lot easier to form this room together because we've got a base template to go off of, which will be pretty cool. And this is exactly what I mean by using what you got. Using our previous templates to dictate how the interior of this ship's going to look, which is pretty cool actually. Now I'm going to continue on. I don't think we're going to end up building this all the way up within the 23 seconds that we have left, but you're going to want to do that after today's episode ends. Bring this wall going all the way around, all the way up until you hit this top gray wall here. Now there will be a slight gap right here, but then once you do hit the top of these pillars, which is essentially this roof here, you're not going to want to go any higher than that. Very important that you don't go any higher than this top x-axis point, because that is essentially the roof. But once you do that, you'll be done with today's episode. And I think that's going to wrap us up. We're making pretty steady progress here on our interior, but we still have a long way to go. And I'm looking forward to continuing our journey as we stride towards trying to have the most complete and unique Enterprise D that there is out there while staying true to the ship. But I think that's going to wrap us up today. And I just want to thank you again for tuning in today's episode. And if you did enjoy this content, help me out, hit that like and subscribe button. I definitely appreciate it. And of course, don't forget my schedule on Minecraft has changed. My videos drop Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays now at 7 p.m. Eastern. And of course, if you have any questions regarding today's episode or any builds that you want to see me do, or just dropping by to say hey, definitely be sure to drop a comment. I definitely love from hearing from everybody, and I'm pretty responsive in the comments section. Um, but yeah, I think that's going to wrap us up. I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode, and I hope everybody has a happy and safe week. And of course, what did you make in Minecraft today? Let me know in the comments section.